You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 23 Personnel Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I'm just recovering. This was a roller coaster of emotions for many reasons, as I'm sure most of you feel the same way. And Spencer had the pleasure. See, okay, I'm about 30 minutes removed from the end of the game, but Spencer watched it on a delay, so he basically ended the game and hit. This is really instant for him. So
I just walked out of my living room.
Yeah.
37 seconds ago.
I've even been able to find some of the sick humor in it because I've been a Tech fan that long, but I don't know if you're there yet. So I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna try.
I want to burn the whole thing down.
That's kind of what I thought.
So here's where we should start, Michael. Tyler Shuck should not play another fucking down.
You think there's
four turnovers directly tied to that piece of garbage performance tonight. I'm not calling him a piece of garbage. The play tonight was 4 turnovers.
Well, one was technically just an arm punt, so it's just 3.
You didn't even give your guys a chance on the last line. You threw it to the end zone to nobody but Oregon.
Yeah, I don't know why.
All 3 of his interceptions went directly to the defender.
I feel like
all 3 of them were like, "What the hell were you doing?"
I'm going to probably step back from that slightly because I feel like the same guy that cost you the game kept you in the game. So it's a weird feeling to have that. You know, he was your leading rusher. You had that one drive where he had 3 passes in a row for 84 yards and a touchdown. He threw 2 touchdown passes on the first drive. It was just so strange. Well, I guess not really. I mean, we've kind of seen this here and there, but to see a guy take over that much and handle things that well, at least with carrying the ball, to then also not know when to get rid of it. I mean, that pick 6 was coming. You could see it was coming because there were at least 2 other plays I remember where he should have just got rid of the ball, and somehow he was able to, get it out at the last second, or he just took too long. He just held it too long, and this time he just ignored the pass rush and threw right into a guy. But I don't know. I don't know if I've seen. I think Smith would do that some last year, where he would be the reason you were in the game, and then also the reason you had to go to overtime twice. But yeah, that was tough to see. And we got a few people in the YouTube chat. Y'all can join us if you're live watching us on YouTube. You can just chime in on whatever you want to see. But man, kind of the same thoughts there. Haley with what's the point of anything? I'm not there with you too much because we did predict that Tech would lose this game. It's always the disclaimer, though, that it's one thing to predict something will happen. It's another thing for it to come true, but in the manner in which it comes true also factors in. So to be in a good position to win this game only to hand it away. I mean, you're driving, you're down by 1. You had one timeout left, I think, at the pick 6, maybe 2. You just felt like field goal range was inevitable at that point. And Garcia, yes, he missed the 56-yarder, but that's a 56 freaking yard field goal. I'm gonna let that go. That he made a 45-yarder, which that's nothing to sneeze at, and drilled it. But man, going 0-2 to start the season, I think
it's your worst start in 30-something years.
Yeah.
Granted, that's how the schedule was written.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you didn't start off with Tarleton State.
Sure.
But you've also not historically lost your group of 5 games either.
Well, and in that 0-2
Um,
start back then, it was 2 ranked back-to-back Ohio State. Tech went to Ohio State, lost, and then hosted Houston and lost. But both of those teams were ranked in the top 20 at the time. Of course, ranking week 1 and 2 of 1990, I didn't go back to see how Ohio State and Houston finished. That may mean nothing by the end of the season. That may be the only couple games they won. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, 0-2, kind of a historic bad start. Kudos to the fans for coming out. I never thought they wouldn't. Apparently, some of the players did. I don't know what that whole discourse was over the week, but this game's been sold out for a while. Oregon is a fun team. They're an interesting team. They're a big brand. So, yeah, of course, the Jones was packed, and I'm glad everybody was able to make it out.
Looked like there's a decent crowd even after halftime, which has been a thing at Texas Tech lately.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good point. I noticed that, but I didn't, put it together. So I feel like I've just been like wheeling all over the place. What do you got? What do you got, Spencer? Reel me in. Bring me back to something. To a rational thought somewhere.
Well, here's a question, and it's from the chat. Can Morton be worse?
I don't think Morton's as good as a runner, but probably not.
Would you attribute any of last week's loss on Chuck? Or was that just a whole team breakdown?
I don't think it's as much on him last week. I really don't. I felt like the play calling was a little bit more even this week. Of course, he ran the ball 23 stinking times.
23
so that was kind
times.
Of, yeah. I mean, that was an obvious game plan here, or it was him checking into them or whatever, but he had success there. But that was something he didn't really do last week, except in overtime when, again, they had success when they did it. But no, I mean, I don't think that can all be blamed on him. I mean, his offense, he was out there when Tech went up 17-0. He did throw that bad interception, but no, I think that was more of just a team effort defensively and offensively. That's what's kind of a little bit more frustrating about tonight is I feel like the offense that this defense stopped tonight was
Did they stop him
impressive.
though?
Well, they slowed him the heck down.
Gave up 31 points.
No. Oh yeah, they did. Sorry, I already forgot. You had already taken the pick six out. I was frustrated on the PAT because that was something they ran last week, and we had 12 guys on the field and still couldn't stop it. That was something I was frustrated about. But late in the game, I mean, they held them scoreless in the third. They had that one drive where they stopped them like second and third and fourth and 1. Boom, boom, boom. Turned the ball over. And then I think that was an interception right after that. But
so wasn't this special teams coach the one that was doing those kind of swinging gate extra point plays? And we did that a couple times last season. Like we lined up to do it and then never ended up running it. Or was that last year under Cumbie?
I don't recall that.
Because when you specifically had practiced it, you had implemented it, you installed it, you were looking at times to even run it, and then get it run against you. It's like, what are we doing? So I wanted to make sure it was the same special teams coach. Like, because if it was Kenny, whatever his face is, and he installed that at Tech last year and then has it run against him, I was like, that's pitiful, man. That's pathetic.
Well, at that 2-point conversion,
I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt in case it wasn't him. And like my memory is off, and it was actually the guy before him with Cumbie.
And credit to Oregon for doing that because that just threw everything off. The entire game was off from that point on, especially when Tech tried to counter and couldn't do it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You went for two to chase points instead of just being down by 1, you down by 2, and it made things just weird. I have thoughts, Michael, on officiating, and I'm really hesitant to even bring it up because, like, I realize sour grapes. Anytime a losing team brings up, oh, the officiating, blah blah blah, we're just gonna roll their eyes. I understand that. And I know we all kind of joke that Big 12 has terrible refs, and we experienced that firsthand because apparently on these non-conference matchups, they take the visiting team's conference refs to the games, right? So you had Pac-12 refs there tonight. I'm not exactly sure what they were looking at on Malik Dunlap's interception that they decided was not a catch. But what else do you need? He had 2 feet in bounds, went to the ground with the ball, and then rolled over on it.
Well,
what else are you looking for?
It moved like
his whole body moved, Michael.
Yeah, but the ball moved at least, I don't know, we're talking several micrometers. I saw it. I could tell.
Several minutes after possession was established, and he went out of bounds. Like, okay, so his first foot is in bounds.
Yes.
His second foot is out of bounds. Okay, he's established possession and then went out of bounds. Play's over. Like, and then he went to the ground. Like, I don't understand how they could have seen enough. Well, I guess the call on the field was incomplete. So they would have had to have enough to overturn it. So I guess that they have that justification and defense to stand on. But, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously you're not going to win any games when you're -4 in the turnover department, but it doesn't help when you actually intercept the guy. And it looked like you should have had possession, and they review it and say, no, it was incomplete.
I tell you what does help, though, and I really appreciate Oregon coming to town and committing 14 penalties, 8 on offense, 6 on defense, and those 6 penalties on defense, they extended at least 2 or 3 of Tech's scoring drives. I mean, gracefully extended. We're talking 3rd and 18 or something, and they're committing blatant defensive pass interference, which that first one, I don't know how that wasn't a personal foul. I mean, he just the ball was like 8 yards in front of him, and he just decked him into the stands almost. And oops, pass interference, no big deal. Yeah,
Cross Timbers Red Raider says his arms moved. This is going back to Dunlap's interception. His arms moved, which moved the ball, but there wasn't a view that he saw that showed the ball hit the ground. I guess it's possible that they saw the ball move, and it could have been his arm moving. His arm moving with the ball in it. So I don't know. How that change the game? Oregon wouldn't have kicked that field goal there to go up. It would have been Texas Tech 30, Oregon 27.
28, I think.
28, you're right. And then, whatever happens after that, I'm not sure. I mean,
probably a pick 6.
That was that was right before that field goal. That field goal was like a minute and a half left. Like, you didn't have much time to run off the clock at that point. Like, that would have sealed the game for you. Essentially, that would have put you in a much greater opportunity to not leave the game in Shuck's arm. Because you would have had the lead. You could have run and run clock. You were actually finding some space on the ground there late in the game. I guess that's another point. Like, our offensive line, like, I would have expected a hell of a lot more than this. Monroe Mills, 4 fouls, 4 flags on him tonight. He had a hold. He had hands to the face. I believe that was actually on Spencer. He had a false start. And he had something else too. There were 4 different fouls that were called or flags called against him. I do think the hands of face was actually on the left guard.
Yeah, hang on.
But then like he's involved in that play where the defensive line just blows right through between he and Spencer, and that leads to the interception, the pick 6 there. Our offensive line, let me see. We ran for what? Well, you ran for 5.4 yards per carry, including a 58-yarder from Shuck.
Yeah, and a 35-yarder from Brooks. And Brooks only got the ball 6 times.
Yeah, your running backs. You only had 1 running back carry the ball. It was Taj Brooks. White did get a couple of carries. Nehemiah Martinez got a carry. It looks like they attribute to the wrong player, but I remember he was lined up as a running back at a few plays there.
Did they pitch
you run the ball?
I don't remember.
32 times on the game. 23 of them go to Shuck. Okay, so I the rushing numbers were a little bit better than what I would remember, but like, so he ran for 174 yards. 93 of those came on 2 carries.
Yeah, but to back your point on offensive line play, Oregon had 5 tackles for a loss, including 4 sacks.
4 sacks. And how many sacks did we get? 1?
1. And it was early, and I was disappointed at how long it took for Tech to get to Peasley last week up in Laramie. And so I thought, oh man, setting the tone early, they're going to get to Nix right away, who was sacked all of 5 times last year. And man, who knows? He may go down a couple more. Yeah, no, that was the only one. That was it. Not to say that the defensive line didn't play well. That was just kind of frustrating. I was hoping they'd get a little bit of pressure on him.
Well,
especially once I saw him do it once. I thought, well, surely they can do it again. But I knew that was going to be a tall order, even though Oregon's playing with a pretty fresh roster up front, but they're full of really good guys, like you mentioned on our last episode.
I think where I'm frustrated, and I'm not the only one, but we were sold a load of crap on the defensive line. Steve Lenton, get the hell back in New York, man. Like, where the hell have you been? Like, non-existent. 2 games now, and one, you're like, it's a group of 5 offensive line that's replacing 3 starters, and you got nothing. Miles Cole is this giant human being who just disappears like Braden freaking Fajoko, loafing on every single play as a Red Raid. Like, where are you guys at, man? Like, I know we were pretty spoiled with Tyree Wilson, and I'm assuming he opened up everything else for everybody across the line. But good gravy, man. We were told like you can expect 10 sacks from Lenton. Like, can Lenton even get off the line? Can he get off a block? But before we anoint him as some like rush specialist, let's see if this man can get off a block, because apparently he can't. I don't know. I'm all over the place with my my ire tonight, Michael. I've got I don't know. I'm pissed at everybody. Everybody sucks.
It's an instant reaction. It's not even the wound is still fresh. We haven't even had a chance to put a bandage on it. It's just sitting there.
I mean, plus side, I thought you were gonna get your shit pushed in and get blown out, and you only lost by 8 because it was a pick 6. But good gravy, your defense is just pitiful. 360 passing yards. I mean, hooray, you held him to 113 rushing yards on 3.6 yards per attempt. But like, When Nix dropped back to pass, there was no rush. Could have done anything with it. And then if we somehow had coverage on him, he was able to get out of the pocket and run for as many yards as he wanted. He picked up 46 yards on 9 carries. And it felt like all those were late. So I mean, I guess the game plan was to stop Irving and Whittington, and that worked. The two of them combined for 18 carries and 59 yards. Irving had 50 receiving yards. Whittington had 60. So they hurt you in other ways. Franklin, the number 1 receiver, had 103 yards. I was expecting a lot more from Gary Bryant Jr. He had 1 catch for 9 yards. But like your defensive effort, especially on tackling, I know that when you see bad tackling form, a lot of that has to do with the caliber of athlete you're lining up against, right? Like that athlete puts you in a bad spot, and so you're desperate in your moves to get them down. And we saw that for a decade, right? And then it was starting to look better. And then last week against Wyoming, it was like, what are we doing? We're diving at people's feet again. Bumping people is not a tackle technique that is going to do anything.
Yeah, that tight end especially had his way. Whenever he
It's not
caught
even
the
that
ball,
big.
he was gonna. Whoever was trying to tackle him first became a fact that it wasn't going to happen, and so he was going to pick up another 10 yards. And Bo Nix, what got frustrating is it was exactly like you pointed out, and then that scoring drive that they had that yes, they ended up not scoring in the third quarter, but they scored in the first or second play of the fourth. That was a 6-minute drive, and he had
17 plays. Yeah.
Well, they had 4 third down conversions on that drive, and 2 of them were on his feet. And those hurt the most, as everybody knows.
I kind of rolled my eyes and chuckled. I know that like, even had Oregon scored there at the end of the third quarter, Texas Tech would have still had the lead since they were up by, I think, 9 points at that point. But that tweet that came out from the main account says ahead after 3, and then to give up a touchdown on the second play of the next quarter. Like, cool. Good job celebrating. I mean, I guess. I mean, it was what, 28-17 then? So I don't know, man. I thought you would have lost this game and it would have looked differently.
I did too. And it started to look that way after the second drive. You know, the first drive when Nix
you held him to a punt.
Yeah, but you know, he hit Franklin perfectly in stride, but Franklin must have just missed the, you know, he was a little ahead of Franklin, but it was still catchable. And
there were a lot of those.
Sun might have been in his eyes or something. So, you know, that play doesn't happen and you think, oh man, well, Tech got lucky there. Then Tech scores on the next drive. And then on the exact same play, they run that same play again, and Nix hits Franklin just perfect on a perfect dime to the house, 2 plays, touchdown. I thought, yeah, we're in for it now. But to their credit, you know, the defense held enough. They slowed down this offense that scored 81 points last week. I know it was against Portland State, but it was still an offense that went 10-3 last year. So, I mean, one thing that really annoyed me was they showed Nix's, 5 years of starting. They showed each year and how many yards he had versus Shuck, and I'm like, come on, guys, what are we doing?
It's like he wasn't even a starter all those years, and he
Yeah,
didn't play all like the full years. And
no, it was and Oregon in 2020 played like 5 games maybe, and he didn't even play all of them. And Auburn played several more. I think it just such a. I thought that was a really lame stat. Thanks for showing that. Thanks for really comparing apples to like I don't know pretzels. It's not even remotely close.
yeah.
But yeah, they're both edible. I guess I don't know. You could call it that. They're in a similar category.
Um. So I guess I would chalk this up so far to just statistical regression. Michael, did you see that stat they shared that Texas Tech was 4-0 in one-score games last season,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and now they're 0-2 in one-score games this season?
yep. I liked that because they did kind of a weird asterisk at the bottom because they said Tech was 4-0 last season, and then they said lost by 2 to Wyoming last week. Like that was in the bottom, and I thought that's true. I mean, it's not like we made that stat, but it's still funny. I
Yeah.
I think that we were so many years we wouldn't have been able to win those games. Some of it was just kind of luck, some of it was coaching, some of it was the other team doing dumb stuff. Um, but no, we can't count on winning all these close ones all the time, and obviously not 0-2 so far before like the third week of elementary school.
Got a question here from the chat, Michael. What happened to all the speed we've been hearing about? Does this team look fast to you or slow?
They do at first. They look fast at first. I felt the same way watching that defense in Wyoming. I felt like they were really fast, really getting to the ball. But then the third or fourth drive, it started to lag a little bit. Offensively, it's hard to tell. You get to see Brooks the 6 times he gets handed the ball, he can show some speed, but you just don't get to see it that much anymore. Price, let's see, he's obviously is he the fastest guy on the team, Spencer? There may be
I think McCray is supposed to be.
I was about to say there, or it may be him, or there may be a defensive player that's faster. I don't know, but Price did get the ball tonight 4 times, 31 yards, had a touchdown, of course, but he was targeted 8 times, so they were trying to get it to him. But he's been there, so it's not like I don't even know if that's a good example on my part. I haven't seen the speed as much on offense as I have on defense. I'll say that.
23 miles per hour with a laughing, crying face.
I like to see the tight ends get the ball tonight. That's a positive. Let's keep that going. Let's have the media talk about our gigantic tight end, and then let's watch him catch some passes.
He caught what, 4 passes?
Well, yeah, and Cup caught 1. So they actually had 5 passes between them, which is great for 40-something yards.
Didn't the main account also tweet out something like, have a day, Mason Tharp, with like career numbers? Is like, he has 4 catches for 37 yards. Why don't we shut up about having a career night?
Maybe they're counting
with 37 freaking yards.
Maybe they're counting that touchdown that got called back for the holding penalty.
Like,
I count it in my heart.
Can we celebrate mediocrity more? 4 catches, 37 yards.
He did moss.
Hooray! It's a career night. Oh my gosh! Way to go! Clap, clap.
I don't know if I've ever seen somebody get mossed on like an out route. I think he did that on his last catch. Just like, bloop. No, I'll take that. Don't worry about that. Guy was probably 6 foot, and he still just. Bloop.
He broke new ground. Pivotal moment for the fan base. 0-2. Who stays? Who goes? Cannot blame fans' anger for these boneheaded calls. Feel for Shock, but if you want to keep some crowds in the stands, you got to start Morton.
Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that.
Because
I'm sure a lot of people will feel that way, but I don't know that's going to determine like If 10,000 fans show up next week.
Well, it'll definitely, and apologies to Tarleton State, but it'll be a less crowded Jones next week. I think that was always going to be the case, even though they announced a sellout. I think it was one of those sellouts that people all of a sudden have something they need to do, even though they have tickets.
I've got to
Got a thing.
weed my flower bed.
Yeah. I've got to start piano lessons at 40. No shame in that. Hey, if you want to start
Saturday
piano
night.
lessons at 40, go for it. On a Saturday night at 6 o'clock. That's the time to do it.
I got other things. Yeah. I've been all over the place, Michael. You got anything else you want to talk about?
I probably do.
Or should we just?
But
Okay.
I've been all over the place too. Here's what I'd like to do though. Let's run through the Big 12 scores just to kind of cleanse our palate a little bit. Maybe we'll have another coherent thought on the Tech game, but I've got them pulled up here so I can just kind of run through them. So Kansas, here's a sentence. Tell me if you've heard this sentence before. Kansas took care of business last night at home against a Big Ten team. No big deal there.
They're going to be trouble, Michael.
They absolutely are going to be trouble. They won 34-23, beating Illinois. Sorry, I'm just so used to saying that. Rice beat Houston, guys.
Double overtime.
Rice wins 43-41. UCF survives a close one up in Boise, winning 18-16. Cincinnati gets the upset, pretty big upset at Pitt.
Yeah, that was
27-21. Iowa maintains Iowa status, beating Iowa State 20-13.
Falling even further behind that offensive output they need to keep their offensive coordinator's job.
Yeah, definitely.
They need 25 points per game, and they weren't going to get against Iowa State, but
no,
they didn't get it last week against Utah State.
The over on that game did not cash, by the way.
BYU, which was what, 36?
Yeah, it's 35 or 35 and a half. BYU takes care of business 41-16, hosting Southern Utah. Oklahoma, I haven't looked into this. I figured they would run away a little bit more than they did against SMU, but took them out in Norman 28-11. Kansas
How do you
State-
score 11 points? Hold on. How do you score 11 points?
Okay. You have...
I'm going to look into that. Okay. Scoring summary.
They went for 2 and they kicked a field goal.
Okay. Yeah, they scored 1 touchdown with a 2-point conversion and a field goal. Okay. And I was expecting a little bit more shenanigans.
I was hoping a safety was in there somewhere. And I was trying to figure out how that would even work. 3 field goals.
West Virginia took care of Duquesne.
Yes, I think that one was delayed for a bit. But
TCU took care of Nichols. The other one I was going up against Texas Tech. It was Texas at Alabama. They won by 10. Longhorns did, so that's going to be insufferable.
Yes, it is.
Who we missed? Kansas State.
Yes.
And Troy. And then Utah going to Waco. Winning on a, I guess, a controversial play. They threw it into the end zone, and the cornerback just absolutely mauled the receiver. But I guess was turned around enough. They said he was playing the ball. I don't know. They won by 7 though.
And Shapen played. I thought he wasn't going to be available this week.
Yeah, for a couple more weeks.
Yeah. So I haven't had the chance to look into it. I saw replays during halftime of the Tech game, and they were showing Shapen throw that pass. What? Who? I didn't know he was going to be out there. And quick update, Oklahoma State has the ball. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just feel it's weird. If this is mostly for people watching live with us, but Oklahoma State has the ball. They're down 15-10 at Arizona State right now.
It looks like they're rolling with Jaden Rashada as quarterback tonight.
Looked like it could have been anybody's guess on that.
No, hold on.
How does Arizona have 15, by the way? Arizona
Okay.
State.
Touchdown run. Oh no, Arizona State has the ball. Jaden Rashada is the Arizona State quarterback.
Bowman's playing. Bowman's 11 of 16 right now.
And Gunnar Gundy, 3 of 4.
What? Okay, they're just showing like the top passers. So Arizona State went for 2 on their second one. That's how they have 15 points. Okay, I don't know. I thought that might be a palate cleanser. Did you want to? Is there anything else that you'd want to touch on this game?
Where do you go from here, man? Where do you go? I mean, I know you're gonna try to run it up on Tarleton State next week and thump your chest about how good you are and how you've corrected some things. But man, like, you lost a game you should have won last week. You lost a game this week that you had a great shot to be in, although maybe you shouldn't have been in this game. Shuck made sure that in both directions, I guess you could say, like, he helped keep you in it and then broke your heart by turning the ball over 4 times. I don't know, man. Like, where do you go? 0-2. I don't think anybody expected this. I mean, you do get West Virginia, Houston, and Baylor to start conference play. I think you can go 4-0 in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's on the table.
Kansas State could be interesting, but
oh yeah, they absolutely will be tough.
Then the road trip to BYU, host TCU, go to Kansas. Like, where I'm at right now, Michael, the way that my confidence is shaken, you'll win the next 4, and then you'll lose the next 4. Like, you'll lose Kansas State, BYU, TCU, Kansas, probably even UCF 5, Texas 6. You'll probably lose the last 6 games.
I think what I'd like to see is if the staff sticks with Shuck, I feel like they've got to take the ball out of his hands a little bit more. I mean, you look at, he had 40 passing attempts tonight. He had 23 rushing attempts. So 63 times. It was every play depended on exactly what he did. He only handed the ball off 9 times. I don't think that's very complimentary. And I said that after Wyoming too. I mean, Taj Brooks had 11 carries versus Wyoming. He had 6 tonight. I don't know how you're supposed to win games when you put every single piece of your offense dependent on one guy who may or may not be capable of taking that on. And I would like to see if he's coming back out, a little bit more balance. I think you have to get your running game involved. You have to get it involved early. I know they like to strike early. I know they've shown that these last 2 games. They want to go fast tempo early, you hit long passing plays early, really get defenses on their heels. That's okay. That's fine. Maybe do that and then start. I don't know. I just feel like they've got to adjust it a little bit to take some of the weight off of the quarterback's shoulders, even if it's Morton. If Morton's coming in there and he's having to run 20-something times a game and pass 40-something times a game, I'm not looking forward to that either. It's got to be more balanced attack. And the defense, I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass because of how depleted they were in the linebackers this week. Having only one starter come back from the previous game, who I think is probably your best guy, but still just one starter coming back. Having redshirt freshmen out there playing linebacker against, whether it's earned or not, a top 15 team in the country. So I think that will help. I'm not really sure to the extent of everyone's injuries. I mean, I know that let's see who else is out. Lowe and Matthews. I'm not sure what their injuries were. I'm not even sure what J-Rod's was. So that could help, but I think the short game teams have been able to feast on that so far. Been a little bit more impressive with the defensive backs. They still have some issues, but there weren't a lot of long plays tonight that I remember, and I may just be not remembering much. I mean, we talked about that first touchdown. That was a long, perfect pass, but there weren't a ton of those tonight. It just seemed like there were a lot of 7-8 yard passes in the middle of the field, or it was Nix running in the middle of the field. And that, to me, points to linebacker play.
Which we knew was thin,
Yes.
and then it got even worse when you lost Rodriguez last week. Although, I mean, I don't want to like pile on, but Wesley Smith had some flashes tonight. Who played and who started in his spot tonight? Who was that?
In Smith's spot?
No, in
Looks like
in Rodriguez's spot, middle linebacker.
it's,
I'm gonna blank on his name.
if it wasn't Roberts, it was Williams. No,
Roberts.
No,
It
it
was
was Roberts.
Roberts. Like
they had 12 tackles.
playing well enough that like not be singled out. Like, what is this dude doing? I don't know, man. I just the ebbs of being a Texas Tech fan to think this team could win 10 games, then like look up after 2 games, like, man, this is gonna be a 4-win game, a 4-win team, a 4-win season. So
They've just got to go 8-2 now, and 8-4 will sound pretty good.
yeah. Hey, it's raining,
I
so
know.
that's something.
I hear it here too. It's great.
This has been one of our longest instant reactions, and we've accomplished nothing. I still hate everything. You were more than an hour after the game's been over. I'm sure you're already on to Tarleton. You're ready to wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah, I'm searching everything I can about him right now.
Have you heard anything about CJ Baskerville?
No, aside from it was just announced, because I listened to the 97.3 pregame. So no, aside from it was just announced that he was unavailable tonight, but they didn't really go into why.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us this week on the 23 Personnel Podcast. You got anything else, Michael?
I'm good, man.
For the instant reaction. All right.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm good. I guess I'm just done.
You're done.
Done for the night.
That'll do it for us. Texas Tech falls 38-30 at home to Oregon. 0-2 on the season. Tyler Shuck gave Oregon the ball 4 times tonight. We'll be back on Tuesday for your preview for Tarleton. Join the stream if you want to. That'll do it for us. For Michael, I'm Spencer. Catch you.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.